Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at Torchlight 2. This is probably one of the most anticipated releases of the year, at least in the indie world, because Torchlight 1 was such a massive success. I have to confess, I have never actually played Torchlight 1, but what I have played is the Torchlight 2 beta. I played that back in May. Actually, kind of a funny story. I actually managed to play all of Act 1 of the Torchlight 2 beta, which was the entire beta at the time, while waiting for the servers to come online on the day of release for Diablo 3, so I could finally play that. And I think overall, I ended up having more fun with the Torchlight 2 beta than I had with Diablo 3, but that is neither here nor there. Torchlight 2 is finally coming out this week. It is coming out on Thursday, I believe, September 20th. And without further ado, let's get started here. So you can see my character is Berserker level 16, and we'll play single player for now, but there is internet and LAN play available as well. But I don't know, since it's pre-release, I feel like single player is going to be the more kind of experience that's representative of the actual game as it is right now. So I should confess again that this is pre-release right now, so some things might change, but as far as I know, this is the final finished version of the game. So, pardon me, I believe I am fairly close to the end of Act 1. Act 1 has a few more quests, I think, than the beta Act 1 did. It's taken me a little bit longer. I'm about 3 or 4 hours in so far. So, I'm a Berserker class, which is basically kind of like a strength class, at least so far it seems to me. I'm carrying these like Sastices and vampiric studded gloves. Basically, I'm almost playing this the way I wanted to play my monk in Diablo 3. Guy's just got like angry spiky fists, and every time he punches, he does a ton of damage. I've also got all this equipment here. You know, it's a standard loot fest game. You can kind of understand what all this stuff does just by looking at it. Like rings give us certain, you know, passive effects usually. Sometimes our armor can give us cool stuff like health recovery or increase in the amount of gold or magic find items. And you can also get like sets of items, as you can see. So I have like 2 cloven hoof items, and when you have sets or a number of items in a set, you get extra bonuses like here, +2 to physical armor. But that is neither here nor there. Right now, I am working on this quest. I'm not going to talk too much about the story, because quite frankly, when it comes to the story of Torchlight 2, I'm kind of in over my element. What I will talk about are the game mechanics once we actually move here. And of course, if for whatever reason you are not familiar, one of the like key aspects of Torchlight is that it has these pets. So I've got Monty here. He's my level 16 pug, and you can outfit him with stuff, and additionally, he will do damage for you. And he can carry stuff and go back to town for you as well, if you so chose. But anyway, we could buy things here, we could go to our stash, but I don't think oh wait, actually I do think I have an item in my stash that I can finally use now. Maybe not. I've been keeping like all my good items and gems in here that I might eventually want to use, but I think I have to be level 17 for those. But anyway, we'll take our portal out here to the Frosted Hills, and I believe we're on one of the final quests in Act 1. I'm hoping anyway. Well, not hoping because I want the game to go by faster, but hoping because, you know, maybe we'll see some cataclysmic type stuff going on here. So as we enter into a new area, you can see on our mini-map here, actually I'll make the map a little bit larger, where we have to go to complete our quest. So usually, the question marks are people that we can talk to that maybe have a quest to give us, or maybe like they just have some dialogue that could be useful for us. And the stars are where our quest objectives are. So we have 2 stars right now. We need to get the Passkey Ember, which I've actually already gotten, and we need to get the Latchkey Ember at the Ember Scratch Mine. But let's go talk to Question Mark Man here and see what's going on with that, because I am honestly a little bit confused. What's up, Lord Taldamut? Alright, so if you can retrieve the golden gear, I can bring it back to Zarafesh to aid in the city's defense, and every time you do a quest in Torchlight, you also get to choose a reward. We'll probably take this collar, because our pet does not have one yet, and also it seems to be the most expensive item here. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. We'll talk about that when it actually comes up. So let's go to this star down here and engage in a little bit of combat, I guess. So the way the combat works in Torchlight, I must confess, and perhaps even warn you, I've been accused of being possibly the most boring, like, action RPG player of all time. Basically, what I do with my character is punch, and when I get skills up, you can see our experience bar down here, when I level up and get new skills, I tend to funnel those all into passive skills. Whenever I play, like, Torchlight or Diablo, I kind of feel like I'm trying to be, like, a responsible dad or something. I'm always like, kids are like, oh, come on, Dad, get the skill where you transform into a wolf, and I'm like, no! You gotta get those percentage bonuses, they're gonna help you in the late game. So we're just punching here with our left mouse button. We'll pick up the studded glove. As in, you know, your standard loot fest games, you know, green items are going to indicate special items to a certain extent. Blue items are gonna do the same thing. This actually does a ton of damage. It is better than our paired Saestus, so let's replace that here. Yeah, green items I believe are rare items, so the equivalent of like blue items in Diablo. But then you can also get yellow items. Do I have any of those equipped? Well, I guess blue items are rare, green items are unique. I'm not totally sure. That's the way it usually works, but I cannot quite remember. Or green items are usually sets. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're just gonna keep killing things. And when we level up, I'll show off my skills. But basically, I'm just using left click and right click. My right click skill is just like a little bit of extra damage here. Does 103 of my weapon DPS. Also inflicts extra damage over time. But anyway, let's see what we've got in our... This is our quest area. Am I missing something here? Enter the Whispering Cave. Yes, I would love to. Let's try to retrieve the golden gear. So the way the game is set up, in case for whatever reason you're unfamiliar with games of this type, is usually you'll get a variety of quests in kind of like the outer world, and then you'll find dungeons, and by going into those dungeons, usually each dungeon corresponds with one quest. And you'll get like an item at the end of that dungeon that will allow you to finish that quest, and then you'll choose a reward and continue moving onward. So basically it's just like a constant... I always find like action RPGs like this a little bit masturbatory, because it's all about... What is that quote from Fight Club? It's like... You know, self-improvement is masturbation. Self-destruction, now that's something. That's thinking with portals. No, and pretty much like all action RPGs to me is like, oh, this gives me like a 1% bonus to my damage. And every once in a while, I kind of dig that. For the most part, I liked it a lot more when I was younger. But I gotta say, that makes it seem like I'm being super negative to Torchlight 2, which I'm not. This is a fantastic game in its own right, and I'm enjoying the shit out of it right now. How did you get over there, Nether Thrall? One thing I also like is that when you enter the dungeon, you might have seen that it had, as I just check out my new equipment here, you might have seen that it had doesn't look like any of these are going to be better than the existing gloves that I have. It had like a recommended level kind of counter, or a recommended level indicator, so it's like you should be level 16 to 18 to get in here. Oh, by the way, since I've leveled up, I should show that off, but I like that because usually, it's not like it bars you from going in unless you're like the minimum required level. But it does let you know, like, oh, I should not be here quite yet. On the other hand, if you want the game to be a little bit harder, you can go to those dungeons before you're the existing level. But for the most part, it is matched up, like, almost exactly to where I've been. So, whenever you level up, of course, you get the opportunity to invest in your skills. Or invest in your attributes, I should say. So we can invest in strength, dexterity, focus, which is our magic, and vitality. Usually what I do is pump a lot of points into strength, because that increases our weapon damage, as you can see down here in the like bottom, or the middle, I guess. But I also like to increase my critical chance whenever possible, because I have skills that actually scale well with critical chances. So there we go, we've got a 9% critical and dodge chance. I think we'll put all 5 points into dexterity there, and then we'll move on. And we also have the chance to invest in our skills. So I've primarily invested in only 3 skills. So Eviscerate is the skill that you start with. That's the skill that I showed you with like that fire punch that you can see right there. But there's also all these other skills that I have not touched at all, like Howl. You howl in fury, filling nearby foes with terror. There's one where you turn into a wolf. Where's that? Shadow Burst. You transform into a spectral wolf and lunge through your enemies, dealing damage, even as you heal your own body. So there's all sorts of different playstyles you can take within each class, and there's 4 classes within the game as well. I think I played as an engineer when I did my beta video, so I thought I would mix it up here. So the skills I've been focusing on: Eviscerate, Blood Hunger, which I believe increases our... Yeah, it gives us health every time we land a critical strike. And that's important because when this charge meter that you can see here fills up, our Berserker charge bar, every hit that we land is a critical hit. So if I end up filling this charge bar and going into Berserk mode, I basically just heal myself instantly, which is awesome. I also have Frenzy Mastery, which increases the length of my Frenzy. You can see it's now 9 seconds instead of 6. And Shred Armor, which every hit that I land decreases the armor of my opponents and raises my own armor. But for now, let's invest more in Shred Armor. So we'll get minus 14 to all armor per hit. Seems useful to me, and we will just continue onwards here. So those are the skills that, like I said, pretty boring in terms of like my preferences for games like this. Generally speaking, when I was younger, I tended to be like the showy classes. Wow, that was easy. Got the golden gear very quickly there. Whoa. Did it say I was over encumbered, or did it? Okay, it said that a quest is completed. Well, that was incredibly fast, actually. I did not expect that quest to be over so quickly. Usually they're a little bit longer than that. But anyway, when I was younger, I was into like the flashier stuff, you know, take the sorceress, get the ice wall or the firewall, blizzard, whatever you're into. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I just want to punch things, and I want my stats to scale incredibly the more and more I play. So let us bring this quest item back to Lord Dingleberry over here. And then we'll have one more quest, and since it's the only quest remaining, it's quite possible that this is the last quest for our act. I don't want to show any spoilers, but I do want to show off as much of the game as possible. So we'll take his pet tag here. We'll allow our pet to wear this, and now our pet will do even more damage. So, let's take a look at our map. How far away are we here? Probably not substantially far away from our final objective here. And at this point, basically, the only risk that I have... The game is actually... It starts out quite hard. I came very close to dying in the early game a couple of times. And it's kind of intermittently since then. And that's one of the things that I really like about Torchlight 2 is that this game doesn't hold your hand too much. There's going to be a lot of comparisons to Diablo 3, I apologize for that, but I didn't get a chance to compare it to Diablo 3 when I did the beta video because Diablo 3 was not working / had just come out the day that I, finished the beta. One of the things that my major complaint with Diablo 3, and I know a lot of people love the game, I know a lot of people have problems with the game, my principal problem is that the game was simply too fucking easy. Like, anything, if you wanted to go to an area that was like, I mean, again, I know people are going to say that like, oh, the game doesn't really start till Inferno or Hell. That's fair, but the thing I like about Torchlight 2 is that you don't have to beat the game on normal to access those harder difficulties. It's like, oh, you think you're like a hardcore player? Why don't you start on hardcore difficulty then? You don't have to start, on this like basically tutorial mode where we're going to help you out, which is what I've considered like Diablo 3 to be. I have to confess, I've never died in Diablo 3. I mean, I didn't actually beat the game, I only played through to Act 3. The reason I stopped playing, I've entered Frenzy mode here, so you can see that I'm doing critical strikes constantly, which will heal me if I actually ended up losing health. But the reason I stopped playing Diablo 3 is because the game was just too goddamn easy that it became boring to me. Not saying I'm a great player or anything like that, but just the skills that were available. Like, I remember being a monk, and I had like these weapons that caused me to do a ton of damage. And I also ended up getting, like, maxing that skill or getting that rune that gives you lifesteal on every punch. So I just was basically invincible, at least for the section that I was in the game. And I never even really came close to death. So we got an achievement there. In Torchlight 2, I've died once and I've come very close to death a number of times. So I feel like this difficulty balance is way, way better. It makes for a more satisfying game. So it looks like we have a champion here. Usually champions will drop a rare item. They also give you some fame, and the way fame works... I'm frozen here, yeah. The way, I wasn't frozen by the game, by the way. That guy, as you saw, had a freezing blast upon death. But the way that fame works is that the more fame you get, the more ranks you get. I actually don't know what these extra ranks kind of garner you in terms of attributes, but if I bring up my character screen here, you can see I'm at respected. If I get another about 8,400 fame, I will reach the next level of kind of notoriety there. So again, I'm not totally sure how that works, but it's a nice little system. Always feels good when you, kill a boss and then it's like, hey, you've leveled up to Exalted. Oh, that's awesome. Makes me feel like I'm playing Civ 5 or something. So we're going to go into the Ember Scratch Mines here and see what kind of quests we're going to have in here. This could be difficult because I feel like we're getting fairly close to the end of the first act here. And I remember... Oh, get out of there. I remember some of these quests from the beta, but again, it has been quite a long time. Like, we're playing this in September now. I played the beta back in the middle of May. And again, the beta back then was only like the first act, so it was like maybe 4, maybe 5 hours. And, that experience, I guess, has... Oh, I'm in my weird state again. That experience kind of, I don't know. I forgot about it pretty quickly, not because the game was bad, but because I got into other games. But now that the game is actually out, I think people are going to be really excited about this. Obviously, it's a little bit unfortunate that I'm only showing off the single player here, because the appeal of Torchlight is definitely going to be playing the game through with your friends. But hopefully, there is not any kind of concern. There are not any kind of concerns about that when the game actually comes out. When I played the beta was multiplayer only, so I know for a fact that the online play, at least in the beta, worked totally fine. So it would very much surprise me if they'd like completely broken it or something by now. I did not even realize that we had a goblin form in here. But anyway, we'll destroy him. What's kind of cool, we get a plunger? What the hell is the plunger for? It's kind of cool that, generally speaking, the enemies... Is this our plunger? No, of course not. Generally speaking, our enemies are... it must have been a quest item. Tied to the theme of kind of the level where we are. Like, we're in this mine, we're gonna fight enemies that are wielding pickaxes and stuff like that. It's not just like... Okay, we have like these 10 early game enemies and we're gonna scatter them out and then just like create varieties on them as we go along. Like, oh, this is a guy with a bow, this is a guy with a spear or something. This guy has 10% more HP. Now, the way they do it is a little bit more tied to the aesthetics of each individual region, which is cool. So we're gonna destroy all these goblins quite easily. I'm back in my state here. I don't even have my map up. That is incredibly stupid of me. So what are we looking for in here? We're looking for the passkey ember. No, we're looking for the latchkey ember. Okay. So once we find the latchkey ember, we can bring them back to whoever gave me that quest. I honestly can't remember right now. Generally speaking, you got 1 or 2 quests on the go at the same time, so sometimes it can be a little difficult to to keep everything parsed together. And to be honest with you, I'm not playing this game for the story. I've been following the story to a certain extent. We're chasing after some villain called the Alchemist who wants to destroy Torchlight. It could be here, actually. Yeah, some villain called the Alchemist who wants to destroy Torchlight. Do I have to blow up some more TNT here? I guess I do. But, again, I don't really play a game like this for the story. Same with Diablo. I don't play Diablo for the story. Yes, we will switch our boots here. I play games like this the same reason anybody does, to get bitchin' ass loot and, you know, slowly become a conqueror of worlds. How do I get down there? We will just have to click and drag a little bit. Oh, the staircase! Imagine that. So we'll just continue onwards here. So yeah, in terms of like why I feel so positive about Torchlight 2, I feel like Torchlight 2 has a lot to gain. It's kind of unfortunate that it's coming out so close to Borderlands 2, and the games are to a certain extent similar, at least on a mechanical level. Or a conceptual level, I should say, not a mechanical level. Because it's possible that Borderlands 2 might overshadow Torchlight 2 to a certain extent, but hopefully they both find their deserved audiences. What is going on in here? I didn't even realize this was a path. But what I like about Torchlight 2 so far, and why I think it has so much to gain, is because people seem to have taken a 180-degree turn on Diablo 3. I think people generally find that they are not enjoying that game as much anymore as they did when they first got started. I'm not trying to shit-talk Diablo 3 just to be an asshole. It's because these games are so similar, like Torchlight and Diablo. But Torchlight has a lot of things I like about it that Diablo did not have going for it. For example, the game is actually difficult from the get-go and respects the player enough to let them choose their own difficulty rather than have them play through easy mode before they start into the actual difficulty of the game. The game itself is actually surprisingly tough as well. Like you might have noticed there, I actually had to use a potion. This is something that happened very rarely to me when I was playing Diablo 3. And it's just basically that. I mean, there's going to be people that... Another plunger, weird. There's going to be people who, for whatever reason, don't like Torchlight because it's too cartoony or something like that, or it's not gritty enough. And you know, for those kinds of people, you probably want to, you know, re-examine that, because if that stops you from playing a great game, then that's pretty much your loss and nobody else's fault. But B, maybe you want to take a look at Path of Exile when it comes out a little bit later this year. But I am having a hell of a lot of fun with Torchlight, and from the other people that I've seen, like, you know, Total Biscuit, that have early access, and, you know, various other Twitter people that I follow, other people seem to be having pretty much the same reaction to me, which is always reassuring when you're playing a game before release, and you're like, oh, other people actually enjoy this game as well, as much as I do. So it's not just me being crazy, this is actually just a quality game. So we'll continue going down here. You saw that star on my map. That is probably my quest item, but I want to explore all of our dungeon here. We're getting pretty close to another level up. And then I will go back to the town once we complete this quest. I mean, it functions similar to other games like this. Generally speaking, the way I proceed is like, quest, item, purge all of the items that are not useful for you at the shop when you go back to town, buy items that are more useful for you, or, you know, extra potions or stuff like that, and then come back out and do more quests. Usually, like, another plunger. I have no idea what's going on with these plungers, I must confess. Okay. So we'll continue onwards here. I want to take a look at my map once we finish off with this wave of enemies, just to figure out where the heck I'm supposed to go. So let's open this up. Where do we want to go? How did I miss that? We should maybe go to this star. While we are here, let's just keep the map up a little bit in the corner here, so I can figure out where I'm going. I vaguely remember sometimes there's almost like a puzzle mechanic, like that, for example. Do we get more plungers here? No, we actually just got some items. But yeah, sometimes there's a puzzle mechanic, like there'll be these like broken detonators, as you can see here, that we have to fix up. I remember, I haven't come across it yet in this one, but I remember in the beta there was like an actual genuine puzzle, which became incredibly frustrating for multiplayer, because it was like you had to, it was a switch puzzle basically, and every time you flipped a switch, it would change like where you could walk on the floor, like it would put up force fields that you could not traverse past, and it became incredibly frustrating with like 4 people not talking to each other, all flipping the switches. So it's possible that that comes a little bit later in the game, like maybe a little bit later in the first act. Maybe I'm not as close to the end of the first act as I thought I was. Or it's possible that that was just scrapped altogether because it was a little bit confusing and sometimes became quite frustrating. So we're just going to take out Face Smasher here. We leveled up, which of course means that we will have like full health and mana, so I don't have to worry about healing myself so much. These champion beasts that have knockback are super fucking annoying. Just kill him! There we go. So we got a little bit of fame. We'll get some unidentified staffs here. Might as well set our detonator off. Maybe we'll find the passkey ember in here, or the latchkey ember in here. Looks like this is just a secret room, though. You can come across secret rooms with a certain amount of regularity. Oh, I seem to have reached a dead end here. Sadly. This is shaping up to be one of the larger dungeons, which probably means that we actually have a boss coming. One thing I should mention about the online as well is that as far as I know, from like the tooltips that I've seen, it does have the same kind of loot system as Diablo 3, where if you and your friend are playing and a boss drops loot, it drops separate loot for you and your friend. So like you don't see... Oh, looks like we do have a boss right here. You don't see what your friend gets, and there's no risk of like your friend taking what you were supposed to get. Okay, so let's try to take out King Pog here. I'm just gonna punch the shit out of him. I'll blow through my potions, but I want to just use potions as sparingly as possible, even though I have a lot. Actually, I suppose I should be a little bit more open with my potion use. But I really want to enter like my frenzied state, my berserker state, because then I'll start doing full critical hits like almost all the time. And after that, I will start healing myself with each one as well, because of that passive skill that I showed you earlier. So we're just going to keep healing ourselves and punching away. Generally speaking, the bosses have been pretty difficult so far. Usually, the bosses kind of function on this principle where they'll do damaging attacks to you, and then they'll alternate between that and actually spawning like a lot of enemies, requiring you to do some like crowd control. That, as you can see, to a certain extent right here. Maybe he didn't spawn enemies, but there's enemies just existing here. And that makes it difficult. Like, the time I died was to a boss a little bit earlier in the game. And I oftentimes end up stocking up on health potions solely to use them on bosses as we move on. So I guess I already did go through my berserker state. I didn't even notice, but that would explain why his health has gotten quite a bit lower. Let's just keep this up. And there we go. So we managed to kill him. And we do get the latchkey ember, as well as a flame ember chip, which basically functions like a gem. And that is going to be the end of our mission here. But I do have to bring the quest item to the person who gave it to me. Who gave the quest to me, I should say. So do we have anything useful over here? Potentially. Potentially not as well. Monty, get away from there! I don't want another repeat of Spelunky here. Alright. Well, actually, we got some decent stuff here. Sometimes the chests are traps, but it doesn't really bother me that much. So, we will now take the portal to the surface. We'll drop off our quest item. Oh, there's another chest here. I didn't even notice. In fact, there's another little bit of the dungeon here. We might as well go through all of that before we leave. It might only be like 2 more enemies. Let's see what we've got in this chest. A shillelagh and a pioneer helm. Generally speaking, I don't really worry too much about the loot in games like these. I basically pick it up if it's rare or unique or part of a set. And, oh, I forgot that I leveled up, so I should spend my skill points there. I like that it shows you this at the loading screen so that you don't, you know, just never put your stat points away. Where is our quest dude? 1 second here. 1 second, I gotta level up. So we'll kill these guys, and then I will level up quickly. Again, we could upgrade our critical chance, but that's not even going to give us an extra %, even though you can see it gaining incrementally there in the middle. Let's pump points into our strength, because the more damage that I do, the more damage I will do. I mean, that seems pretty obvious, because I just repeated the same sentiment twice, but in any case, you get me. Let us upgrade our shred armor again. We get 2 skill points, actually, so we'll upgrade all those. And then we will look on our map once I get through this to figure out where the hell that quest item dude is. It must be the star on my map, right? Do I have... Yes. Because I was like, do I have both of the keys? I think I do. Do I have quest items that I can check in my inventory? Yes, I have both of the embers. Okay, we're good. So then this is probably going to open up like the final dungeon for this act. In which case, I will not show it off. Because I think that would be a pretty dick move. It's like, hey, Runic Games, thanks for the pre-release copy. I'm going to show off, like, Act 1 spoilers. I mean, Act 1 is still early in the game. As I understand it, they only have, like, a problem if you're showing off things from Act 2 or, like, the end of Act 2 and later. But still, it kind of feels like that would cheapen the experience for people who actually wanted to play it themselves. So let us run up here. And we will eventually get to our quest beacon, I'm hoping. We might run into a little bit of combat along the way. These guys should be super easy for me, though, considering I'm probably like 3 or 4 levels above the appropriate level for this area now. So let's see what we've got here. Oh, okay, so we go to this waypoint. We put our keys on here. And then it opens up... Stop the Grand Region. Yes, this is going to be the end of the first act. So what we are going to do is actually take our way back to town, which is the Asterian Enclave. And let us start selling some shit. So basically this is what I do every time I go on a quest. I start purging after that. So we can sell things very easily. I should identify things before I sell them, just so that they get more money. And we're going to sell basically everything that does not look like it's going to help us out more than what we currently have equipped. So we'll just continue selling all this. The ice ring is not that great. We'll sell anything that's not unique, of course. Now these might be good, but they require level 21. So we'll save these and put them in our stash for later. Shillelagh. We should trade that for that. No, we shouldn't, actually. 88. I think we should sell this one. How about this one? Yeah, we can get rid of that. Get rid of that. Oftentimes, I just kind of look at the sell value, and I'm like, if the sell value is lower, then I don't really want it. This requires level 20, plus 145 health is actually really good. So we'll sell all of these. And just continue selling. You can see I got a ton of money. I almost never spend money in this game. I definitely suffer from... No, I didn't want to sell it. We'll just buy it back. It's the same price until you actually close out of the window. Cool. So we have all this good stuff here. Yeah, I generally have suffered from like too good to use syndrome with money in these games. I'm like, well, I'm going to find just better loot on the ground anyway. So we can equip this belt that I've been holding on forever. We can definitely equip this Helm of the North Wind, which is a unique one. So I guess uniques are orange or yellow. And this is awesome. 6% increase in the amount of gold found. 9% increase in magic finding. 6 health stolen on hit. That is awesome. Let's equip that. Now we look like a badass eagle or something. And we will sell our cloven hoof helm. We also have a unique collar, which seems awesome for our pets. It sucks though, because I did just get a collar to give to my pet. And you know what? Can we put something in here? You can put that in there for like 48 extra health. 8 mana recovery per second, or 0.8 mana recovery per second. Focus attribute plus 3% physical armor. Maybe there's no reason to put anything in our armor or trinkets. But anyway, what's up, Monty? I'm going to take this away from you. It's been good while it lasted, but I'm going to give you that now, because that is badass as hell. And Tinya, we're going to sell this and this. Thank you very much. So now let's move all this stuff to our stash. I like how you can expedite this process very easily with shift click. Our dude's looking pretty goddamn fierce. So now let's just talk about all these other guys in here. We got a guy here who can enchant items for us. So let's say I have this vampiric studded glove that I really like. Let's put that in here. We can try to enchant it. And he has a new enchantment. And what is the enchantment now? 3% damage bonus when dual wielding. That's actually pretty awesome. So it cost us, you know, a couple thousand, but sometimes that can be worth it. We also have a blacksmith over here, and the blacksmith sells you weapons, as you might expect, but also armor, and what's up with this t-shirt here? And I guess he doesn't have any miscellaneous items. We've got items, or guys down here that allow you to either destroy gems and socketed items, so you can put new gems in them, or destroy items, recovering the gems inside. And we got Thamor over here. He allows us to respec our skills if we wanted to. I don't really want to do that. And those are basically all the NPCs that we have to deal with here. And I think I'm going to call it quits on this Let's Look at of Torchlight 2. I think I've shown off basically how the game works. So we're pretty much at the end of Act 1 here. Like I said, 3 or 4 hours in so far. So assuming, you know, standard 4 or 5 acts gameplay here, even from a single player standpoint, you are going to get like, you know, 15 to 20 hours. And of course, the big strength of Torchlight for most people is going to be the multiplayer. So I would highly recommend getting some friends together. There's a Torchlight 2 4-pack on Steam right now, basically 4 copies for the price of 3. Why not pick it up, send out some copies to your buddies, and enjoy the experience from Torchlight 2 that I think a lot of people wanted to get out of Diablo 3. If you like Diablo 3, so be it. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to shit talk you or anything like that. I'm just saying I prefer Torchlight 2, and I think a lot of people that didn't get what they wanted out of Diablo 3 are going to feel that Torchlight 2 is a little bit more up their alley. But in any case, kudos to Runic Games for making something that's totally awesome. This is now available on Steam as of this Thursday. I will see you guys next time. I'm going to get back to doing some looting here. Thanks for watching.